Charlotte lived two completely different lives, and almost nobody knew the truth. Online, she was known as Mars, one of the most respected players in a competitive gaming community. Confident, strategic, and fearless, Mars was the kind of teammate everyone wanted on their side. She was a master sniper, an expert tactician, and part of an elite four-person squad called the Romans. Together, they had spent years climbing the rankings in their favorite game, Strike from Above, eventually becoming one of the top teams in the country. But away from the keyboard, Charlotte's reality looked very different. At 17 years old, she struggled with severe social anxiety. Speaking to strangers felt almost impossible. At school, she kept to herself and often became the target of whispers, stares, and judgment. While her online teammates viewed her as a skilled and dependable friend, her classmates barely understood her at all. One evening, Charlotte logged into the game, eager for another practice session with her team. Her character appeared in the virtual arena as a towering orc dressed in battle armor, ready for combat. The only problem was that the rest of her teammates were running late. The first to arrive was Jupiter, known as Jup. He was Charlotte's closest friend and the team leader. However, instead of appearing as his usual dark elf character, he accidentally logged in as a tiny bright blue bunny. The sight was so ridiculous that Charlotte immediately burst out laughing. Jup quickly explained that his sister must have been messing with his account settings before logging out and returning in his normal form. Embarrassed, he begged Charlotte not to tell the others what had happened. Unfortunately for him, things only became funnier when another teammate, Pluto, logged in with an equally unexpected appearance. Before long, the entire group was laughing and teasing one another. Then Neptune arrived, adding even more chaos to the situation with another bizarre character set up. What was supposed to be a serious practice session quickly turned into a comedy show. Despite the distractions, the joking and laughter highlighted something important about their friendship. The four players had spent years gaming together. They trusted one another completely during matches and had developed a bond that stretched far beyond the game itself. Their team composition was simple but effective. Jupiter served as the leader. Charlotte, as Mars, handled strategy and long-range combat. Pluto specialized in close-range fighting. Neptune excelled in aggressive mid-range attacks. Together, they worked like a well-oiled machine. Strike from Above combined first-person shooting mechanics with role-playing elements. After spending years maxing out their characters and equipment, the team had shifted their focus toward competitive player-versus-player tournaments. The results had been impressive. They were currently ranked 5th nationally, despite only competing online. Their sponsor wanted to take them even further. Plans were already being discussed for future in-person tournaments, something Charlotte had never been able to attend because her parents were unwilling to let her travel alone. The possibility excited her. For years, her teammates had only known her through a screen. Meeting them face-to-face would be a huge step. Yet there was one major complication. None of them knew she was a girl. For 7 years, Charlotte had allowed everyone to assume she was male. It had started naturally when they were younger, and had simply continued over time. Now the secret felt enormous. She even used a voice modulator during voice chats to make her voice sound deeper and more masculine. Without it, her teammates would immediately realize the truth. Part of her worried that revealing her identity would change everything. She didn't want special treatment. She didn't want awkward conversations. Most importantly, she didn't want to risk losing the friendships that had become the center of her life. Jupiter, whose real name was Tony, had become especially important to her. The two talked constantly outside of gaming. Through their conversations, Charlotte had learned that Tony was popular, athletic, and played football. He seemed comfortable around people in a way she could barely imagine. Despite their differences, he was kind, supportive, and easy to talk to. Sometimes Charlotte felt like he was the only person who truly understood her. The other teammates, Corey and Frank, were also friends, but her connection with them was mostly limited to gaming sessions and team coordination. Tony was different. He had become a genuine part of her everyday life. Their practice session was interrupted when Charlotte heard someone calling her downstairs. Dinner was ready. The voice belonged to Margot, her longtime nanny. Even at 17, Charlotte still had a nanny living with her. She often questioned why her parents insisted on keeping Margot around, but they considered her part of the family after so many years. Charlotte said goodbye to her teammates and prepared to eat. Before leaving, she endured one last round of playful teasing from the group. The friends joked about food, daily life, and practice schedules before promising to meet online again later that evening. The lighthearted conversation perfectly reflected the team's dynamic. They teased one another constantly, but underneath the jokes was years of trust and friendship. After logging off, Charlotte headed downstairs and found a plate of lasagna waiting for her. The rest of the food had already been put away. The kitchen had been cleaned. Margot had disappeared. Charlotte sat alone at the table. That loneliness was something she knew all too well. Her parents were successful professionals with demanding careers. They loved her deeply, but they were rarely home. Margot handled the practical side of daily life, but she wasn't really a companion. Years earlier, her job description had included spending time with Charlotte, playing games, and providing social interaction. Over time, however, that part of the relationship had faded away. Now Margot mostly completed household tasks before retreating to her room. Charlotte never complained. She didn't want her parents to feel guilty. She didn't want Margot to get into trouble. So she kept her feelings to herself. Sitting alone in the quiet kitchen, she did something that perfectly captured the isolation of her life. She started talking to the refrigerator. The appliance hummed softly. The ice maker rattled. Charlotte responded as if it were having a conversation with her. It was partly a joke, but only partly. When someone spends enough time alone, even the smallest sounds can begin to feel like company. The moment quickly became a painful reminder of how isolated she truly was. At school, students whispered about her. Some pointed. Others stared. It happened often enough that she had almost come to expect it. She told herself she was used to being different, but deep down, it still hurt every single time. She couldn't understand why fitting in seemed so easy for everyone else. For Charlotte, even basic conversations felt like climbing a mountain. Looking back, she wondered whether her lack of social skills was connected to her lifestyle. Most of her meaningful interactions happened through screens. Her closest friendships existed online. Her confidence appeared only when she became Mars. The real Charlotte felt trapped behind walls she couldn't break through. Even practicing conversations with household appliances wasn't helping. The contrast between her two worlds couldn't have been more dramatic. Online, she commanded respect. Offline, she struggled to speak. Online, she was surrounded by loyal teammates. Offline, she sat alone at the dinner table. Online, she was powerful. Offline, she felt invisible. Yet despite everything, there was one bright spot in her life. Tony, Jupiter, her best friend. Whenever life became overwhelming, she knew she could count on him. Through years of gaming sessions, messages, victories, defeats, and late-night conversations, he had become her anchor. He didn't know her biggest secret. He didn't know she was Charlotte instead of Charlie. He didn't know the confident teammate he admired was actually a shy girl, struggling to navigate everyday life. But even with that barrier between them, his friendship meant everything. As Charlotte finished dinner in the silence of the kitchen, she reflected on just how much she depended on that connection. Without her gaming friends, she would have almost no social life at all. Without Tony, she might feel completely alone. For now, her two worlds remained separate. Mars the gamer continued to thrive online. Charlotte the teenager continued to struggle in reality. But change was coming. A new chapter in her life was about to begin, one that would force those two identities closer together than ever before. And when that happened, Charlotte would have to decide whether she was ready to let people see who she really was.